Welcome to the Chip Chip Trial Class Workshop. Engaging kids, winning their hearts, securing registrations. I am Chris, one of Chip Chip's teachers and in house trainer. I'll be with you all throughout the presentation. God bless everyone, and let's share God's love in our classrooms. So, what are we waiting for? Let's dig into the presentation. For our first topic, we're going to be discussing about effective strategies for a trial class. Now, in this presentation, we'll dive into key methods to ensure your trial classes leave a lasting impression. Whether you're aiming to engage students, showcase your teaching style, or convert potential clients into long term students, we'll cover actionable strategies designed to make your trial classes successful and memorable. Now get ready to explore practical tips, creative techniques, and best practices to create engaging student centered trial lessons that captivate and convince. Now, are you guys ready? Let's dig into it. Now, first, we're going to be discussing about keys to a successful trial class. Remember, teachers, kids, and parents need to like the teacher to sign up. So basically, we're going to be focusing on three things for today. We have number one, fun. Number two, engagement. Number three, connection. Now, in a one on one ESL class, especially with Vietnamese students aged 5 to 12, the connection between the teacher and the child is crucial. Remember that, teachers, it's very important. Now, these students are mostly beginners, and if they feel comfortable and enjoy the time with their teacher, they're more likely to feel motivated and sign up for more classes. All right, now let's start with number one, fun. We have to make sure that our lessons are fun. Make the learning process exciting by using games and maybe songs. That is totally fine. Now, one thing I would like to suggest when it comes to games is one of our most popular Filipino birthday games, Bring Me. In a class, in order for you to catch your student's attention, whenever you feel your student is starting to lose focus, have a game with them. Play Bring Me. Ask them to bring something that you tell them to bring and give them rewards for participating. Remember to celebrate your students' success and triumph. Okay? Now let's move on to number two, engagement. Now, we have to make sure that we keep the attention of our students through having an interactive lesson. How are we going to be able to do that? First, we ask questions, encourage them to speak and share, even if it's just a word or two. Teachers, we have to remember that these students are beginner students, right? And keep in mind that we have a language barrier, right? So, Vietnam being an EFL country, English as a foreign language, they're not so used to speaking in English on a day to day basis. So we have to be patient with them, asking them simple questions. At first, with a beginner student, it's better to ask them a yes or no question. For example, how are you? Are you happy? Or questions like, did you go to school? Or questions like, do you like singing? Do you like drawing? Simple questions that we could answer with a yes or no. And remember, celebrate their efforts, even if they're not going to be able to give a complete sentence when it comes to an answer. Still, we celebrate their efforts. All right? Okay, now moving on to number three, we have connection. This is one of the most important things that we have to be able to build in order for us to get a sign up from our students. Remember, teachers build trust and a friendly atmosphere, right? We have to be able to use our gestures, facial expressions, and of course, we have to use our props. Okay, so if you have props like these, make sure to use them in your classroom. All right, now we have to remember that since most of our students or most of our trial students are beginner students, we can better reinforce our language skills or our communication through language using prompts, gestures, and of course, visual aids. All right. So these are the things we have to be doing to better reinforce their language learning. Okay. One important tip, teachers, make sure to smile. Smiling and showing enthusiasm will help break that language barrier. And it shows that you are a friendly teacher. All right. So don't be stingy with your smile. Okay. And now we're going to be moving forward to our next topic. We have here identifying student levels. Let's get started. Now, if you guys would see, we have two tablets here, one for lower level and one for higher level students that includes intermediate and advanced students. Okay. Now, you may be asking, why is it important that we know how to understand or identify our students' level? Now, it's important because understanding the student level is one of the key foundations to a successful class. All right. Now, since Chip Chip students, again, are mostly beginners, it's crucial to tailor your approach based on their current abilities to ensure they stay engaged and have fun while learning. So you have to remember that when teaching a beginner student, we cannot use complicated words. We can teach beginner students the way we teach our intermediate students. That's one rule. Okay. Now, let's focus on the lower level students first, okay? Considering beginner students, we have to be able to use simple words. Now, stick to basic vocabulary like colors, numbers, and common objects in the classroom or at home. Okay? Next one, make sure that you implement slow pace in the classroom. Yes, teachers, you heard it right. Slow pace. Speak slowly, clearly, and use lots of repetition. These are just starting out students. They're basically baby students. Imagine some of our students could be younger than 5 years old. So don't overwhelm them with too much information all at once. Okay? All right. Next one, we have to have lots of visuals. Now, with regards to visuals, we could be imaginative. Of course, let's not limit ourselves with only using, for example, pictures, we have flashcards and props. we could also use virtual visual aids. Now, that's the time your phones would come in handy. So, for example, one of the things I like doing is using GIFs whenever I teach. That's GIF, okay? For example, you simply Google well done GIF, right? It's one of the things that you could use in your classroom to show that your student did something good. I'm going to show you one example. Just a moment. For example, it's going to be this. So once again, simply type in well done, GIF on your Google, and then move or proceed to the image tab, and once you have your desired image, you could simply show that to the camera like this. Can you see it? Well done. All right. So that will definitely increase the level of fun your student will be having in your class. So incorporate the system rewards, your physical rewards, and at the same time, these virtual rewards. Okay? All right. And of course, most importantly, we have to remember that a lot of our students in the lower level would require fun activities. Now, what are these fun activities? This could be playing simple games, once again, bring me, or you could do charades where you would make your student guess a word by you doing some actions, right? Like, what's this? Running. What's this? Swimming, things like that. All right. You could also sing songs or use gestures or TPR to make things lively. All right. Beginners love activities that make learning playful. Keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to higher level students. Now, with regards to our intermediate and advanced students, we expect you to encourage your students to speak in full sentences, right? And make them express their thoughts fully. Now you have to be asking them open ended questions and no longer with yes or no questions. Okay? With their level, we have to help them develop their critical thinking skills in English. Now, once again, encourage thinking. All right. Challenge them with a more complex topics like discussing their hobbies or what they did during the day. We have to be able to push them to explain their ideas or solve simple problems in English. All right. Now, we also have to go beyond basics. Teachers, we have to introduce new vocabulary and grammar to our students. Higher level students will want to expand their knowledge. So don't hesitate to, push your students out of their comfort zone. And remember, if you see them struggling, if you see them having difficulty giving out an answer, be there for them. Be there to support them. Okay. Now, last but not the least, we have to be flexible. All right. Make sure that at the very beginning of the class, the breaking the ice portion, we learn how to identify the level of our students in order for us to adjust our teaching style, right? We adjust our teaching style based on our students' reaction and participation. If they struggle, slow down and simplify. If they're thriving, don't be afraid to level up and dive deeper. Okay? Teachers make sure to match their energy. Younger or beginner students may need more dynamic and animated teaching styles. Don't be afraid to look a little bit silly or don't be afraid to look a little bit animated. That's totally fine. I mean, we are here to help them learn and love the English language. All right? While older students or advanced students might prefer more structured conversations or challenges. All right. So, whether that's a lower level student, a higher level student, the energy should still be of standard. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on to the last slide of this category. Now, teachers, I want you to remember that the student is the star. Okay. Now, if you could look at the presentation slide, you could see, or you'll see, a student holding a huge star in the middle of the screen, right? Okay. And of course, you're also going to see the spotlight shining down on these students that are happily having a class. Now, let's look at the clusters of clouds on both the left side and the right side of the screen. Let's first start with the left side, okay? Now, the most important element of any lesson is the student's engagement. Teacher, remember, if your student is not engaging, no matter how beautiful your props are, no matter how good of a speaker you are, I don't think your class will be successful. It's going to be a one way conversation. So, engagement is really important. Okay. Now, not strictly following the lesson material is totally fine. Okay. If you see your student is starting to feel bored or lose interest on the material, innovate, adapt, step out of that lesson material, and you basically give or find ways on how to catch your students' attention. All right. Now, um, keep in mind that especially in a one-on-one ESL lesson, most of our classes are one-on-one, keeping the students interested and making learning enjoyable should be our top priority. It's not about finishing the lesson material, actually. It's more about your student being happy with your class, your student learning a thing or two, and your student signing up on your class. Okay. Now, focus on number one, let the student take the lead. Now, this may sound a little bit intimidating because as teachers, we have that idea in mind that we're the one who should be taking control of the lesson. It has to be structured, we have to be following the lesson flow. But teacher, that's just not how an ESL class works, especially if it's a one-on-one class. Remember, it's okay to step away from the lesson plan. All right? If the student shows excitement or interest in a specific topic, go with it. Don't drop their interest, right? We have this thing we call the wave our students are making. Imagine that wave increasing. Now, that could be good or bad. So, for example, your student wants to keep on talking about their last summer holiday, and you have this thinking like, ooh, I have to control the class. I have to finish the lesson material. So you try to block the wave. And what happens is that your students' energy level starts to drop down, and your students start to lose interest in talking to you. So instead of blocking that wave, ride that wave. Imagine you surfing on a surfboard while riding that wave. Show interest in the story. Ask questions regarding your student's story. Smile while your student is talking. Listen and pay close attention, right? So, in that way, you let your student take the lead and you make them feel that you are interested in their story. And keep in mind that every conversation, so long as it is in English, is a learning opportunity. Okay? It's not just the lesson material that is the learning opportunity here. even the free conversation and the side talks and side quests. All right. Now, once again, it's okay to step away from the lesson plan. Okay. All right. Remember, teachers, flexibility is key. The lesson material is there as a guide, but you don't have to rigidly stick to it. Okay. Once again, if a student is excited about talking or doing an activity outside of the plan, use that opportunity to reinforce language skills instead of blocking it, right? When you do that, the class starts to become more naturally, right? Children learn best when they're having fun. So let's their interest guide you in the lesson. All right. Okay, now let's move on to the right side of the presentation, the right clusters of clouds. We have here number one on top, engagement over perfection. Remember, teachers, that these students are beginner students, okay? Remember that a lesson flow that is natural makes the class more effective, right? We have to be able to find things that would basically highlight the success of our student instead of focusing on the errors that they are making. So if you have this little amount of a patience, extend it, stretch it. Okay? We should not be highlighting on their mistakes, but we should be celebrating their effort for trying and of course their successes, whether that's small or big. Okay? All right. Remember, fun equals learning. When your student is having fun, they are learning at the same time. Never for a second think that if you're just playing around or going goofy in the class, it's not a learning opportunity. No, they're actually building their confidence as they learn how to speak in English. So props to you for that, teacher. Okay. And one last thing is to be able to um, be flexible, adjust to the moment. All right. If your student is feeling restless, bored, if they keep on asking for bathroom breaks, if they keep on reloading and exiting the classroom, that's a sign that they are either feeling tired, feeling bored, uninterested, anxious, stressed. So don't be afraid to switch things up, teacher. Okay? You can pause the lesson to play a quick game, maybe do tic-tac-toe, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But make sure that as you play, you talk. All right? You ask them something from their room, something that would catch their attention. Give them a mini dance break. These things would keep their energy up and their attention on you. All right? And once again, one of the main mission of our company is to have a student-centered learning, right? To encourage the student to ask questions, share their thoughts, and express their emotions. Do not be afraid to ask them how they're feeling. Do not be afraid to ask them how their day went, right? Do not be afraid to ask them if they're feeling sad or if they're angry because when you do those things, this makes them feel in control of their learning process. We have to remember that most of our students have regular school, and most of the time, it is their parents who would want them to learn English, so it's being pushed onto them. So let's give them the feeling of owning their learning process by centering the class on their interests and their needs. You start to create that bond between you and your student that helps them to feel safe and, of course, excited to learn. And that's just it for this topic. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. Once again, I'm happy to meet you, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you guys, and let's head on to the next one. Bye.